Over the course of 50 years, Kamen Riders have become iconic heroes throughout the world. With so many riders, I wanted to know which ones were the greatest of all time. So today, thanks to help from the community, I'm gonna rank the top 100 Kamen Riders of all time. Fight! This list is going to focus on each rider's popularity within the community, coolness, and cultural impact to decide the rankings. And with nearly 300 riders to choose from, this was definitely a challenging list to put together. So subscribe if you haven't already, and let's start it off at number 100. Starting off this list at number 100 is Hiroshi Tsukuba, also known as Sky Rider. Kamen Rider. Throughout this series, Sky Rider uses his powers and abilities to fight the terrorist organization known as Neo Shocker. Hiroshi is a caring person who loves the sky and always helps others as both a rider and a human. Despite losing his family when he was young, he learned to enjoy life and appreciate small moments. He received support from those around him, including past heroes. After finding out that his parents were alive, Hiroshi became obsessed with finding them. Even through his grief, he fought Neo Shocker with his predecessors to protect innocent people, showing how he had grown. Hiroshi Tsukuba was played by Hiroki Murakami, and Sky Rider was known for his flying ability and physical prowess, making him a formidable opponent against Neo Shocker. He was designed as somewhat of a reboot of Kamen Rider Ichigo, the first rider, but he definitely had characteristics that were all his own. Next up at number 99 is Rintaro Shindo, also known as Kamen Rider Blades, with an S, not to be confused with Kamen Rider Blade. Blades was featured on Kamen Rider Saber, and he's known as the Water Swordsman. Rintaro appears serious and unfriendly at first, but he's actually down to earth and eager to teach Toma how to be a good Kamen Rider, despite viewing Toma's fighting style as unorthodox. Having lost his parents early, Rintaro was raised by the Sword of Logos and feels loyal to the organization despite its corrupt nature. This loyalty made it difficult for him to leave even when he recognized their wrongdoings. However, after Toma sacrificed his powers to save Rintaro, they developed a close bond that motivated Rintaro to leave the Sword of Logos and join Toma's team. Rintaro has strong emotional ties to his friends and family, including those in the Sword of Logos. He sought revenge for the death of his mentor, Kinshin Nagamine, but later realized that revenge wasn't the answer. After facing emotional struggles, including the loss of Kinto and the pressure to save Mei, Rintaro reassessed his self-worth. Encouraged by Toma's faith in him, Rintaro regained his confidence in himself. He was played by Takiya Yamaguchi, who actually co-wrote episode 32 of Saber. Coming in at number 98 is Kamen Rider The Bee, a rider form that was used by several prominent characters within Kamen Rider Kabuto, several of which would go on to become other riders in the series. Rider Sting. Sporting a slick rider suit with a bee and wasp aesthetic, this rider used the devastating Rider Sting and of course his clock-up ability to give him an edge in combat. Powered by the bee Zector, Kamen Rider The Bee would often fill the role of antagonist, but this differed based on user and the current story arc. Kamen Rider The Bee was an excellent addition to the roster of Kabuto, and the uniqueness of his style really made him stand out. Henshin! Next up at number 97 is a corrupt police detective named Masashi Sudo, who transforms into Kamen Rider Scissors. Played by Takeshi Kimura, Kamen Rider Scissors was featured in Gyuki. He's distinguished by his crab-like appearance and a number of abilities and pieces of equipment, like a shield and a mounted claw. As the third Kamen Rider in the series, Masashi is a dishonest investigator who uses his position to hide his illicit acts and silence witnesses. After entering into an agreement with the mirror monster monster Volcancer, he gains abilities via using a card deck and transforms into scissors. Scissors had a unique look and was a memorable rider despite only being featured in 5 episodes of Kamen Rider Ryuki. Coming in at number 96 is Kamen Rider Sabella. Sabella's user is named Reika Shindai, played by May Angela. When Reika debuted, she was portrayed as very mysterious and kept most of her motives hidden. When dealing with others, she presented herself in a professional and graceful manner. Although she typically maintains a calm demeanor, she doesn't hesitate to become aggressive to emphasize her point. Regardless of her allegiances, Reika never moves without a meticulously devised strategy. While mainly a remote strategist and manipulator, she is not above engaging in direct action when necessary and showcases significant combat talent when fighting as Sabella. Sabella wields Imperial Smoke Blade Noroshi and is also referred to as the Swordswoman of Smoke. Sabella's look is based on various insects, and she also utilizes various insect-like abilities during combat. Next up at number 95 is Kamen Rider G, a wine-loving rider controlled by a man named Goro, played by Goro Inagaki, a musician and actor whose life and personality was reflected in this character. Being featured in the 2009 TV special of the same name, Kamen Rider G was one of the most unique riders of all time, featuring a bottle opener on his rider belt. And he fought against an organization called Shade, with style, flair, and a little bit of alcohol. Coming in at number 94 is a newer rider named Kamen Rider Valen. Freelance rider Hanto Karakida undergoes modification surgery to harness Gochizo power, allowing him to henshin into Valen. This chocolate-themed rider is extremely durable in combat, and he even heals quicker than an average person. Featured within Kamen Rider Gav, Hanto is played by Yusuke Hino, who actually grew up as a huge Kamen Rider fan, and he even was quoted as saying that Kiva's transformation was his favorite. Number 93 on our list is a rider by the name of Valvarod, and this form is used by Supana Koragane, who was a Malgam before becoming an alchemist. He's a highly skilled warrior who battles Malgams with the Valvarusher, a wrench-like sword that also functions as a rifle, and he has a wrench and vehicle-themed aesthetic. Supana usually has a serious demeanor, with a well-delivered performance on the part of actor Yasunari Fujibayashi, who previously auditioned for a role in King Osier. Valvarod was really unique in terms of look and style, and he brought a great dynamic to the Gotchard series and a different vibe compared to the two main riders. Coming in at number 92 is Kamen Rider Mage, specifically Mayu Imamori, who henshins into Orange Mage. Featured on Wizard, Mayu was a student who had a twin sister named Misa that became Medusa. The conflict between the twin sisters was a unique storyline within the franchise, and Mayu's interactions with the other characters on the show were really interesting to watch, especially with Kamen Rider Beast. Mage is an often underrated female rider, and actress Erina Nakayama played 2 roles in the series, as Mayu and Misa. Next up at number 91 is Miyuki Tezuka, better known as Kamen Rider Raya. Raya is known for his striking red armor and strong desire to alter fate via the Rider War. Miyuki is a somewhat sad character, portrayed excellently by actor Hase Takano, who also played Hiroya Fujimiya, the host of Ultraman Agul, as well as Hayato Ichimonji in Kamen Rider the First and Kamen Rider the Next. Raya was a cool and unique looking rider that definitely made the Rider War more interesting. Next up on the list at number 90 is a rider who had his own standalone film in 1993, Kamen Rider Zeto. During Dr. Mochizuki's efforts to create a Neo lifeform, researcher Masaru Aso is changed into Zeto. His look fully embraced the grasshopper aesthetic common with early riders, but this time it was taken even further with an almost biological design. Masaru was played by Ko Domon, who also played Sig in the Metal Hero series Blue SWAT. Throughout Zeto's fight to protect a young boy from Neonoid, Ko Domon's performance was strong and memorable, giving impact to the story. Coming in at number 89 is Kazuya Oki, also known as Kamen Rider Super 1, a cyborg who battles the Dogma Kingdom. Kazuya volunteers for cybernetic surgery in the International Space Development Program in the US to be an astronaut who can survive in space with no suit. Before he goes to space, his base is attacked by the Dogma Kingdom, who kills nearly everyone there. In Japan, he's trained by a martial arts expert named Master Genkai and learns how to Henshin into Super 1. Super 1 had a lot of tools for battle, including multiple hands that he could swap out, resulting in different effects. Super 1 had a slick silver, black, and red color scheme, and this was one of the earliest examples of form switching found within the franchise. Number 88 is Alain, the Prince of Gamma, better known as Kamen Rider Necrome. Necrome had special abilities associated with Gamma, and he's known as the Prince of Demons. As such, he can utilize a variety of different attacks and control the Gamma realm. Throughout the series, Alain goes through a ton of character development, changing from a strong but self-centered character to someone more complex with a solid moral compass and drive. Necrome had a cool black, white, and green color scheme that makes him stand out in a crowd. Alain was played by Hayato Isomura, and when getting into character, he was heavily inspired by Darth Vader. Next at number 87 is Rin Kudo, also known as Kamen Rider Magedo from Gotchard. Rin is a student at the Alchemist Academy and fights using abilities derived from alchemy, like hand-to-hand combat abilities and the ability to manipulate aspects of her body. Rin was played by Ryo Matsumoto, who previously auditioned for the role of Beroba in Kamen Rider Geats, and she once said that her favorite Kamen Rider character growing up was Ankh from OOS. Magedo was the first official female secondary rider in the franchise. Our number 86 rider is Tsurugi Kamishiro, better known as Kamen Rider Sassold. Featured in Kabuto, Tsurugi was extremely wealthy, and he's usually shown in his mansion or being chauffeured by his butler, but he's also a worm. Sassold as a rider uses a scorpion motif, and the name Sassold is a combination of sword and sasori, which means scorpion in Japanese. Sassold appropriately uses a sword to unleash devastating attacks on his enemies. Tsurugi was played by Yusuke Yamamoto, who went on to become a DJ in Japan named DJ Y2. Kamen Rider Sassold looked awesome, and Tsurugi's wealth and nature as a worm made him an extremely unique rider. Swimming into number 85 is Ryo Ashihara, better known as Kamen Rider Gills, a formidable fighter that's known for his vicious strikes and claw-based attacks. Featured in Agito, Gills is an imperfect version of Agito, with a suit design that reflects this with its natural and biological aesthetic. Ryo was motivated by the death of his father, and this drove him to search for the truth surrounding his death. He was initially presented as an anti-hero, but over time he would transform into the role of a secondary protagonist in the series. Ryo was played by Yusuke Tomoi, who also had a small role in Kamen Rider Ryuki episode final as someone who fell victim to Oja. He was previously married to actress Mika Katsumura, the actress who played Yuri or Time Pink in Time Ranger, but the couple ended up divorcing. Gil's look always reminded me of some of the grittier rider projects like Shin, Zeto, and J, and he did a great job rounding out the roster of Agito. Next up at number 84 is Shuichi Kitaoka, better known as Kamen Rider Zolda. Featured in Ryuki, Shuichi is a super lawyer that develops cancer, and he joins the Rider War so he can become immortal, thus saving him from his terminal disease. When henshined, he uses heavy weapons like the Giga Launcher and Giga Cannon to inflict massive amounts of damage on his opponents. Zolda's look is somewhat blocky and utilitarian, but he has a bright green undersuit which contrasts nicely against the other riders in Ryuki. Shuichi is played by Ryohei Odai, an industry veteran that appeared in Ultraman Max and Ultra 7X, as well as lending his voice to Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. Zolda might not be the sleekest looking rider, but he was a cool heavy weapons brute, and Shuichi's story grounded the character in reality, allowing the audience to easily understand his motivations. Coming in at number 83 is King, or Kamen Rider Dark Kiva. Serving as the main antagonist of Kiva, King was a bat fangier and also the father of Taiga Nobori. When henshin, Dark Kiva's suit makes King nearly unstoppable by enhancing and amplifying his demonic power, resulting in an absurd level of strength. Dark Kiva's demonic power is so strong that it can potentially be harmful to the wielder, and if unchecked could result in self-destruction. Because of this, the armor has a silver stripe called Satan's Vessel, and it's coated in a material called Darkness Tar to contain the demonic force and prevent self-destruction. King was played by Shinya Niro, a descendant of Tadamoto Niro, a famous samurai retainer from Japan's Edo period, and Shinya did an excellent job portraying the cold and calculated persona of King. Dark Kiva looked awesome, and he was definitely a force to be reckoned with. Henshin! Next up at number 82 is another rider who got his own standalone movie. This was Koji Segawa, who henshins into Kamen Rider J, the first rider to be able to grow into a giant. Koji was a nature photographer, and he was killed while attempting to protect his younger sister named Kana. Koji is resurrected by the Earth's spirits and becomes Kamen Rider J to battle against the fog. Kamen Rider J! Koji is played by Yuta Mochizuki, who also played Geki or Tyranno Ranger in Zyuranger. Jay looked similar to Zeto, but his ability to grow into a giant, along with Yoji's interesting story, made him more than deserving for this list. Number 81 is Gaze, or Kamen Rider Gaze, from Gio. Gaze was a member of the Resistance from the year 2068 who worked to alter history so that Sogo doesn't become the ruthless tyrant known as Oma Gio. Portrayed as cynical and focused, Gaze was initially really hostile to Sogo because of what Gaze knew Sogo would go on to become. Although he does eventually get along better with Sogo, the potential inevitability of Sogo becoming Gio was a fact that was never far from Gaze's mind. Gaze is an adept fighter who's capable of winning battles through brute force or by catching his opponents unaware by utilizing stealth techniques. Gaze's look was decent enough, although his persona and abilities are really what lands him on this list. Gaze was played by Gaku Oshida, who based his portrayal of the character on both Kaiza and Sasword, although he would make the Gaze character all his own. Next up at number 80 is a newer rider form with multiple users in Kamen Rider Dread from Gotchard. Known as the Dark Destroyer, Dread represented a persistent threat within the show. The Dark Sisters created the Dread form from various amalgam fragments, and Dread used replicated Kimi cards to henshin. Dread looked pretty awesome, and while this rider had multiple users, my favorite was Clodo, the third Dread user, played by actress and martial artist Kanon Miyahara, who also appeared in Kamen Rider Amazons and Ultraman Z, as well as Dew Soldier's special chapter Memory of Soulmates. She also has black belts in both Judo and Karate. Kamen Rider Dread may not have as much notoriety as some of the other riders on Gotchard, but I think the suit design and wide range of users give this rider a spot on the list. Coming in at number 79 is Mutsuki Kamijo, better known as Kamen Rider the Angle, a dark rider from Blade. Mutsuki was possessed by the spider undead, and this was reflected in Liangle's suit design, which showed a clear theme of spiders. He made use of a special weapon known as the Liangle Rouser, a polearm that gives him an edge in close to mid-range combat. Mutsuki was kidnapped as a child, and as a high school student, the trauma from this event still weighed heavily on him, making him a perfect target for the spider undead. Eventually, Mutsuki was freed from his possession and became allies with the protagonists of Blade. He was played by Takahiro Hojo, whose favorite rider growing up was Kamen Rider Black, and Liangle himself had a striking appearance, along with an interesting story that earned him a spot on this list. Next up at number 78 is Keisuke Nago, also known as Kamen Rider Iksa, the secondary rider from Kiva. As a member of a group called the Wonderful Blue Sky Organization, Iksa serves the role of a holy paladin, driven to smite Fangires as a warrior of light. Keisuke suffers from trauma due to his father's death, and he implements a somewhat twisted form of justice, oftentimes taking pleasure in the suffering and death of Fangires at his own hands, and taking mementos from those that fall before him. Iksa has superhuman strength and powerful weaponry, plus multiple modes that change his visual appearance. Speaking of which, Iksa has a unique white and blue color scheme that contrasts nicely to the other riders on the show. Keisuke was played by Keisuke Kato, who would reprise his role several times over the years, and as a Fangire hunter, Iksa was really unique. Number 77 is Win Hararuya, better known as Kamen Rider Punk Jack, the punk rocker nicknamed Halloween-chan on Geats. Win was the frontman for a band called Weatherhearts, but his band broke up due to their lack of success, causing Win to drink heavily and put himself in a bad spot financially before his grandfather hooked him up with a job with the operational staff of the Desire Grand Prix. He eventually joined the DGP as Punk Jack, but initially didn't speak or reveal who he was. Win was played by Tsubasa Sakiyama, and in my opinion, Punk Jack was one of the most entertaining and fun riders of the series. Snacking his way into number 76 is Shoma Inoue, also known as Kamen Rider Gav. Born as Shoma's stomach, he's a hybrid of a human and a creature called a Granute. He has a special talent for creating gochizo by eating snacks, and this allows him to henshin. Gav is a strong Kamen Rider who can change into numerous forms by creating different gochizo with different snacks. Shoma is played by Hidekazu Shinin, who was heavily inspired by Kamen Rider 01 while preparing for the role. Gav's transformation and abilities are closely related to his love of snacks, and Gav's snack theme is one of the most unique motifs in all of Kamen Rider. Next at number 75 is another rider with a standalone film, Shin Kazumatsuri, also known as Kamen Rider Shin, from 1992's Shin Kamen Rider Prologue. Shin Kazumatsuri is fused with grasshopper DNA against his will, leading him to fight against the Institute of Super Science. Shotaro Ishinomori, the creator of Kamen Rider, originally planned for him to be called Kamen Rider Gaia with a more traditional look, but later on this ended up being changed to Kamen Rider Shin, and he was given a much more biological appearance that resembles an insect. Shin was played by Shin Ishikawa, who also played Kazuya Serizawa, the human host of Ultraman Hikari. Kamen Rider Shin looked sinister and awesome, with what was easily one of the coolest suit designs ever at the time when the movie was released. Coming in at number 74 is Yuto Sakurai, or Kamen Rider Zeronos. Featured in Dino, Yuto was accompanied by an Imagine named Dineb, who also possesses him at times, and Yuto is capable of time travel, but he's basically erased from the timeline each time he henshins because those who once knew him forget about his future self's existence, causing him to be cautious about when he henshins. Donning the appearance of a bull, Zeronos sports a green and gold color scheme with an armor mold that's similar to Dino's, but is different enough to be fresh and provide a contrast in aesthetics. Zeronos was played by Yuichi Nakamura, an actor that also played Kamen Rider Kyoki in Hibiki, and he also appeared in Go's Yuja recently. Kamen Rider Zeronos had an interesting story that was a great addition to the franchise. Our next entry on the list at number 73 is Hitoshi Hidaka, also known as Kamen Rider Hibiki. Hibiki is an Oni, and using the power of pure sound, he battles against the Makamo. Hibiki uses the Onkaku tuning fork to facilitate his henshin because he's a music-themed rider. His main weapon is the Ongekibo Reka, which are drumsticks. Hibiki is known for his strong morals, commitment to personal development, and a role as a mentor, especially to Asumu, a young boy on the show. Hibiki looks great with a unique and vivid purple and red color scheme, complete with demon horns on his helmet. Hibiki was played by Shigeki Hosokawa, and at 30 years old he was actually the oldest lead rider ever at the time of the show airing. Hibiki looked awesome, and the musical nature of the show really set him apart from the other riders in the franchise. Our next entry on the list at number 72 answers the question, what if Spider-Man was a Kamen Rider? This is Hiromi Kadota, or Kamen Rider Demons. Featured on Revice, Hiromi was a captain of the group Phoenix before demotion. He's relentless in his desire to save and protect people, but he's prone to being reckless and making rash decisions due to his inner demon. Demons was one of the most unique suits in the franchise, with the appearance of webs covering his body. Due to this webbing and the red and blue color scheme, it's hard not to think of Spider-Man when you see him. Hiromi was played by Junya Komatsu. Hiromi's character was originally planned to die during Revice, but Junya Komatsu's audition wowed the producers so much that they decided to rewrite the script to make him a more prominent member of the cast. Demons looked awesome, and what's not to like about Kamen Rider meets Spider-Man? Number 71 is Gintoko Himuro, who henshins into Kamen Rider Rogue. He was previously Night Rogue, and he battles the Kaisers, a group he once led before eventually becoming an ally to Build. Kamen Rider. He's known for both his skill with technology and weapons and his powerful physical fighting style. Aesthetically, his motif is a crocodile, and this is reflected by the jaws on his helmet. Add to that the dynamic purple color scheme and the hints of blue, and you've got one sinister looking Kamen Rider. Gintoku was played by Kinsei Mikame, who also starred in the 2016 Death Note film alongside other Toku veterans in Masaki Suda from Double and Tori Matsuzaka from Shinkenger. Rogue was a cool villain turned cool hero, and he definitely earned a place on this list. Coming in at number 70 is Rintaro Kagura, also known as Kamen Rider Shinobi, a ninja-themed rider from an alternate universe that was created when Gyo split the timeline. As the main character of the Rider Time Kamen Rider Shinobi miniseries, he fights a malevolent ninja while concealing his identity from a rival and his younger sister. Rintaro is extremely tenacious, and he bravely defends innocent people from those that try to victimize them. Kamen Rider Shinobi had a cool purple ninja suit, and I think the Shinobi elements were implemented really well into this design, with shurikens gracing his helmet, chest, and driver, with the added touch of fabric wraps to really sell the ninja look. Rintaro was played by Hideya Tawada, who also played Kinji Takigawa, also known as Star Ninja in Ninja. Shinobi had an interesting spin-off story and looked awesome. And who doesn't like ninja? Next at number 69 is Makoto Hikawa, better known as Kamen Rider G3, from Agito. Makoto is a police officer who fights Gurongi by using power armor called the G3 system. This was really unique because instead of henching, he physically puts his armor on piece by piece. Makoto tends to have a really direct tone when addressing people, as well as a strong sense of responsibility. The G3 system would evolve into other rider systems later in the series, complete with other users, but Makoto is by far the most prominent in the series. His armor appropriately had a police look with a blue and silver paint job, and it looked armored enough to protect the user from gunfire in real life. Makoto was played by Jun Kanama, who also played a restaurant customer in Yuki episode Final. G3 represented what a real-world Kamen Rider might look like, and I definitely couldn't leave him off this list. Coming in at number 68 is Toma Kamiyama, a novelist that henchins into Kamen Rider Saber. He fights creatures from Wonderworld, an alternate reality linked to old books and their missing pages. Toma is known as the Flame Swordsman, and his attacks appropriately feature flames and embers. Toma has a love for books and reading, and he enjoys reading to kids and nurturing their imaginations with different stories. He's driven and committed to protecting people and willing to go through great sacrifice in order to accomplish this. Saber looked awesome with a striking red and black color scheme, complete with a blade on his head, a dragon on his shoulder, and a partial tailcoat. Toma was played by Shuichiro Naito, who said his favorite rider was Knight, and Saber's cool look along with his unique book-themed storyline are really what landed him here. Next at number 67 is Sakura Igarashi, or Kamen Rider Jana, the younger sister of Iki and Daiji Igarashi, whose rider form is based on a snake. Sakura is the youngest of the Igarashis, and she's highly accomplished in karate, as she started training with the desire to become invincible. After being kidnapped and placed in the middle of a conflict with the Deadmans, she became Kamen Rider Jana, bringing her desire for personal strength full circle. Jana had a unique blue and orange color scheme with high boots and cobra-like tendrils. Her karate background was obvious when she henchined because she frequently used her hand-to-hand combat skills to defeat enemies. Sakura was played by Ayaka Imoto, and Jana was one of the toughest female riders in the history of Kamen Rider. Number 66 on our list is Jin Takayama, also known as Kamen Rider Amazon Alpha, an anti-hero character that also serves as a co-protagonist of Amazons. Jin performed research for a company called Nozama Pharmacy. He has extensive biological knowledge of Amazon cells and serves as a genetic blueprint for their creation. He wants to kill all Amazons in existence, turning himself into one in order to accomplish this goal. He was once a kind-hearted man, but he became cynical and somewhat cocky due to his abilities.
Amazon.
Alpha had a typical Amazon armor mold, reminiscent of the original Kamen Rider Amazon, but Jin's suit is bright red with striking green eyes and razor-sharp piranha fins on his forearms and boots. This makes him devastating in close range. Jin was played by Masashi Taniguchi, a Toku veteran who also played Nagare Tatsumi or Go Blue in Go-Go 5, as well as Bahato or Kamen Rider Falchion on Saber, and even Decker Asumi, the human host of Ultraman Decker. Amazon Alpha was a cool anti-hero and his suit looked great. That's why he's here.
Henshin.
Complete.
Next at number 65 is Kamen Rider Delta, a rider formed from Phis with quite a few different users.
Standing by. Complete.
The Delta gear was created by the Smart Brain Corporation as a prototype. This rider gear was limited in terms of functionality, but granted the user enhanced strength and speed. The Delta gear allowed humans to use it without ending their life, but it could potentially cause them to lose their minds in the process.
Standing by. Complete.
The monochromatic black and white suit design made Delta's orange eyes stand out by contrast, and this was a slick looking design overall. Coming in at number 64 is Hajime Aikawa, the Joker undead featured on Blade that hinges into Kamen Rider Chalice. He's not a typical rider because his powers come from Hajime assuming the form of the Mantis undead. Chalice uses the Chalice Arrow in conjunction with the Chalice Rouser to unleash devastating attacks on his opponents. Aesthetically, Chalice looks awesome and really unique. It was visually obvious when looking at this suit that it took inspiration from a Mantis, but with the addition of a heart theme to fit in with the rest of the riders on Blade. Hakime was played by Ryoji Morimoto, who also played a character named Kazuma Suzuki on Kamen Rider Den-O and Kiva Climax Cop the movie. Kamen Rider Chalice looked great and he fit in well with the roster of Blade. Next on this list at number 63 is Kamen Rider Baron, the alter ego of Kaito Kumon, a member of Team Baron and a prominent adversary of Gaim that eventually becomes Lord Baron. Kaito has a focused and confident personality, oftentimes coming off as cold and merciless to others. He believes in survival of the fittest, that the strong will conquer the weak, and he refuses to be one of the weak people getting conquered. He has a clear vision of what needs to be done in order to attain victory and will stop at nothing to get that job done. Baron uses the banana lock seed to henshin, and this is represented in his armor design, a red and silver suit with a giant yellow banana on his shoulders. Baron also has a large arsenal of weapons and abilities at his disposal, making him a formidable force. Kaito is played by Yutaka Kobayashi, who actually landed the role of Captain Marvelous on Gokaiger, but had to relinquish it due to other commitments. It really makes me wonder how important those commitments actually were to turn down the role of Captain Marvelous, but I digress. I really enjoyed Baron's demeanor and style, and I think he earned a spot on this list. Coming in at number 62 is Haruka Mizusawa, or Kamen Rider Amazon Omega, another co-protagonist of Amazons. A wild, berserker-like Amazon with a distinctive light green appearance. Haruka as a human is somewhat of a pacifist before henching into Omega and becoming feral and animalistic as a fighter. However, his inexperience and fight avoidance make him inconsistent in terms of power output. Omega's look is a callback to the original Amazon from the 1970s with a vibrant green suit, yellow chest, and red accents. Haruka is played by Tom Fujita, and the vicious nature of this rider plus the retro look really sets him apart in the franchise.
俺がお前の相手をしてやる。
Number 61 on our list is Makoto Fukami, better known as Kamen Rider Spectre, the cool blue rider from Ghost. An artificial being that was once known as Rion, Makoto lived with his sister in the Gamma realm before emerging as Spectre. Spectre had a black and light blue color scheme complete with horns, making him one of the coolest looking riders of the series, and he utilized different damashi to give him an edge. He even has the ability to heal others. Makoto's tenacity and intensity make him a strong character that's driven to save his sister. Makoto was played by Ryosuke Yamamoto, who also played the role of a student in Neo Ultra Q prior to his role on Ghost. Spectre looked great, and Makoto as a character was really entertaining to watch.
仮面ライダー X にセットアップするのだ。
Next up at number 60 is Keisuke Jin, better known as X Rider or Kamen Rider X, who would battle against the Government of Darkness.
ライドのホイップ
Keisuke and his father were both betrayed by Keisuke's fiancée in order to assist the Government of Darkness, resulting in him being mortally wounded. Keisuke's father would turn him into a Kaizorg in order to save his family, resulting in him becoming X-Rider before his father ultimately died, driving Keisuke to avenge his father and to defeat the Government of Darkness. Keisuke goes through a lot of character development throughout the series. He starts as a relatively normal guy, but his father's death and fiancée's betrayal push him to the edge, causing him to fight against the Government of Darkness with extreme ferocity. X-Rider's look is a unique silver suit with a red chest piece, and his helmet is meant to look like a skull, paying homage to the Skullman manga created by Shotaro Ishinomori. Keisuke was played by Ryo Hayami, and X-Rider's tragic story and intensity earned him a spot here. Punching and kicking their way into the number 59 spot is actually a pair of riders from Kabuto. I'm talking about Shun Kageyama and So Yaguruma as Kamen Rider Punch Hopper and Kick Hopper respectively. These two riders specialize in close quarters fighting and are affectionately known as the Hell Brothers within Kabuto. Despite not using the clock up function, their proficiency in close range combat makes them a force to be reckoned with. Both users were former users of Kamen Rider The Bee, and both have reason to hate Soji Tendo, driving them to seek revenge through their own brutal methods. Both of these riders look great, with Punch Hopper sporting a stylish bronze color while Kick Hopper's suit was a vibrant green. Shun was played by Masato Uchiyama, who also appeared in Fies as the Rabbit Orphanok, as well as Ultra Q Dark Fantasy and Ultraman Nexus. So was played by Hidenori Tokuyama, who provided the voice of the Molech Imogen in Den-O, and he also played Hiroto Suto or Goon Gold in Go-Oncher. Punch and Kick Hopper looked cool and were absolutely vicious in terms of hand-to-hand combat. Next up at number 58 is Go Shijima, or Kamen Rider Mach, a motorcycle-themed rider that fits in nicely within Drive. After his friend is killed by Roidmutes, Go gains possession of the Mach rider form and sets out for vengeance. Go himself is in excellent physical condition with superior athleticism, and he's even an expert marksman. Mach has a white suit with vertical red striping and a wheel on his shoulder, serving to add to the look of a speed-themed rider on a speed-themed season. Go was played by Yu Inaba, whose high school teacher was none other than Yosuke Ichikawa, the actor who played Magi-Shine in Magi-Ranger. Mach looked pretty decent for the theme that he represented, and he was a great addition to Drive. Coming in at number 57 is high school student Hotaro Ichinose, who henshins into Kamen Rider Gotchard. His mission is to recover artificial lifeforms called Kimmies and stop them from merging with people and turning them into creatures called Malgums.
Oh, gotcha!
Gotchard has a shiny metallic blue color scheme with orange accents, but of course this changed with various forms. He uses Kimi cards to henshin and to activate his various abilities. Hotaro is played by Junsei Motojima, and Gotchard's suit design and alchemy-based attacks resulted in a Kamen Rider that felt fresh and original. Next at number 56 is Sokichi Narumi, the founder of the Narumi Detective Office who henshins into Kamen Rider Skull. Featured on Double, Sokichi was one of the most stylish writers of all time, and he's known for his trademarked fedora. He's the father of Akiko and former mentor of Shotaro.
さあ、お前の罪、数えろ。
Based on Shotaro Ishinomori's Skullman character, Kamen Rider Skull used a suit that was similar to Kamen Rider Joker's, with a black and white color scheme and a helmet that looks like a skull. Sokichi was played by Koji Kikawa, a singer that grew very fond of the role and considers it one of his personal favorite accomplishments. With unmatched style and swagger, Skull is easily one of the coolest riders of all time. Making his way to number 55 is Takatora Koreshima, better known as Kamen Rider Zangetsu. In Japanese, Zangetsu means slaying moon, and he's a melon-themed samurai rider, allowing him to fit in well within Gaim. As a member of Yggdrasil, he helped develop the Sengoku drivers after discovering the Helheim Forest. He's a brutal tactician and an extremely powerful rider. He was born wealthy and tends to look down on other riders in the series by calling them trash. Zangetsu has a striking white, gold, and green look with armor molds reminiscent of Japan's legendary samurai. Takatora was played by Yuki Kubota, who previously appeared in Kamen Rider The Next. He lent his voice to the role of Kamen Rider Shin in Heisei Rider vs. Showa Rider Kamen Rider Taisen, and he was even featured in Garo Makai Flash Knight. Kamen Rider Zangetsu was a cool modern-day samurai with an interesting story and definitely deserving of a spot on the list. Next up is Takeru Tenkuji, also known as Kamen Rider Ghost. Takeru was a ghost hunter that was resurrected as a ghost after being slain and giving a 99-day deadline to gather 15 icons, which contain the ghosts of historical figures, in order to restore himself. Takeru has different abilities to help him accomplish this, like being able to read minds and sense danger nearby. Ghost has a unique orange color scheme with a single horn on his helmet, and he of course switches to other Damashi or rider forms using his icons. Takeru was played by Shun Nishime, who also appeared in Garo, Heir to the Steel Armor. Though somewhat divisive in the community, I think Ghost is unique enough to land a spot here. Coming in at number 53 is Haruto Soma, or Kamen Rider Wizard. He battles phantoms, which are creatures born from human despair, and he fights to restore hope within humanity. Wizard is effectively a battle mage with an incredibly unique fighting style that includes both close quarters combat and magic, with a focus on kicking, palm strikes, and use of the Wiz Sword gun. And this is because he utilizes rings on his fingers, so punches would likely break the rings and possibly even injure Haruto's hand. Wizard's primary color scheme is red and black, but this changes when he swaps forms, or styles as he calls them. His suit features a long trench coat and a helmet that takes on the appearance of his ring itself. Haruto was played by Shunya Shirashi, and Kamen Rider Wizard answered the question, what if Kamen Rider was a mage? Number 52 on our list is Shigeru Jo, or Kamen Rider Stronger. Shigeru's best friend and mentor Goro is killed by Black Satan before Shigeru lets himself be turned into a cyborg, which made him Kamen Rider Stronger. Stronger has a heavy focus on electricity within the series, with his henshin even featuring sparks. In fact, he was originally planned to be called Kamen Rider Spark, but this was changed due to copyright. Stronger's look was based on a stag beetle, and he had a red and black color scheme with green eyes, complete with a large helmet and chest piece. Shigeru was played by Shigeru Araki, who sadly passed away in 2012 of pneumonia. Kamen Rider Stronger's look and story, along with the performance of Shigeru Araki, were incredibly memorable for Rider fans. Our rider at number 51 is Joji Yuki, also known as Rider Man. Featured in V3, Joji was a Destron scientist that was framed for being a traitor before being tortured. He lost his arm due to being dipped in acid. He was initially hostile towards V3, but he would eventually become an ally in the fight against Destron.
結城ジョージはこのマスクをつけることによってライダーマンとなり
After his arm was replaced with a mechanical one, he gained special attacks and abilities that differed based on the attachment being used. Riderman was the only rider to have a partially exposed face, and he used a multicolored suit featuring red, blue, yellow, and green. Riderman was also known as the Avenging Demon, as well as Kamen Rider 4. Joji was played by Takahisa Yamaguchi, who also served as Riderman's voice actor. Tragically, Takahisa passed away of liver cancer, but his performance as Riderman will never be forgotten. Next at number 50 is Sakuya Tachibana, who henshins into Kamen Rider Garen.
Evolution Key
Representing the diamond card suit on Blade, Sakuya fights to save people from undead, and as a member of the group board, he plays a pivotal role in the show's narrative. He's also a fierce and resolute combatant who's committed to helping people in need. Aesthetically, Garen has a dark red undersuit with silver plating and green eyes. His suit also featured diamonds on the chest and shoulders. Garen also has several other forms to give himself the edge in battle. Sakuya is played by Kosuke Amano, and Garen was one of the most prominent riders of the early 2000s. Coming in at number 49 is Masato Kusaka, the main user of Kamen Rider Kaiza. Kaiza's rider gear provides him with a more potent but slower suit. Masato's character is nuanced and complex. In addition to being a talented fighter and strategist, he's motivated by a need for power and his own past tragedy. He's known for being clever and fighting with aggression. Even though they occasionally work together and share experiences, Kaiza is frequently presented as Faiza's adversary or antithesis.
Complete.
With a black and gold suit, along with purple eyes, Kaiza was eye-catching and stylish. In addition to other powerful abilities and pieces of equipment, Kaiza has become synonymous with his unique weapon, the Kaiza Blade Gun, that can function as a gun or a sword. Masato was played by Kohei Murakami, a Toku veteran that appeared in tons of projects, including Kamen Rider Kabuto, Zyuohger, Dawn Brothers, and Ultraman Mebius. Masato brought a stern presence to Faiz, and his unique suit design was highly memorable. Next at number 48 is Kazumi Sawatari, a member of the Hokuto Sanbagaras, who henshins into Kamen Rider Grease. Kazumi went through an interesting character arc that would see him go from antagonist to antihero to an ally to Kamen Rider build.
Kamen Rider Grease Kenzan.
Kazumi was chosen to lead a team to retrieve full bottles and Pandora's box panels from Toto before Hokuto's invasion. He received a splash driver from Soichi Isurugi, allowing him to become Kamen Rider Grease. His 3 employees became Hard Smash, rounding out the strike team. Kazumi would eventually become allies with Build, and he was a big part of the show's story. He can be unpredictable and even unstable at times, creating intrigue due to the audience not always knowing what he may do or how he may react to different situations. Grease has a gold undersuit with blocky silver armor and a semi-translucent helmet, making him really unique and fully leaning into the robot theme. He also has the Blizzard form with a suit that's a beautiful shade of metallic blue. Kazumi was played by Kohei Takeda, who also appeared in Kiva as Otoya Kurenai, and Grease was a really entertaining character within Build.
仮面ライダーメテオお前の定めは俺が決める
Coming in at number 47 is Ryusei Sakuta, better known as Kamen Rider Meteor. Featured within Fawcett, he's known for his Bruce Lee-inspired fighting style, which emphasizes strong impacts and quick attacks. As a transfer student at Amanogawa High School, Ryusei kept his identity a secret from his classmates. His priority was to destroy the Zodiarts above all else, even sometimes at the detriment of others. Meteor has a really unique suit design, especially the helmet, which is asymmetrical and appropriately features a meteor. His suit is dark and it's covered in stars, which I think is a really nice touch. Ryusei is a martial arts prodigy, specifically the school of martial arts known as Seishin Dairenkin, making him a formidable opponent in any fight. He can also activate Meteor's storm form for even more power and a striking blue and yellow suit.
仮面ライダーメテオストーム俺の定めは嵐を呼ぶぜ
Ryusei is played by Ryo Yoshizawa, who based his character off of Light Yagami from Death Note, as well as Bruce Lee himself. Meteor looked unlike any other writer in history, landing him a spot on this list. Our number 46 entry is the mayonnaise lover himself, Kosuke Nito, better known as Kamen Rider Beast. Featured on Wizard, Kosuke is an archaeologist and he's known for his animal-themed skills and abilities while henshined, as well as his love for mayo, as I mentioned earlier. He puts it on everything. Kosuke is usually pretty lighthearted, and this can sometimes be a detriment due to his lack of seriousness in battle. He can also rub Haruto the wrong way due to his less than serious attitude and his love for putting mayonnaise on everything. Beast's suit looks great in my opinion, featuring a black undersuit with golden armor plating and vibrant green eyes. Beast uses different shoulder-mounted armor called mantles to give him various abilities. He also has access to hyperform. Kosuke was played by Tasuku Nagase, who now goes by the name Tusk, and this list would have a huge hole in it without Kamen Rider Beast. Next at number 45 is Kamen Rider Jin, a Humagear from 01. As a member of MetsubouJinrai.net, Jin originally had a rider form called Flying Falcon, a unique pink form, before he was destroyed and remade as Burning Falcon. Created by Horobi, Jin turns humans into magia, and he worked to establish Humagears as the dominant species on Earth. Jin wore a slick black suit and carried himself with confidence and style. As Burning Falcon, Jin had an awesome red and black rider suit with teal eyes, and he could of course fly around during combat, giving him a huge edge in battle. Jin was played by Daisuke Nakagawa, and he lands a spot on this list mostly because he looked so awesome. Next up at number 44 is Daisuke Yamamoto, the original Kamen Rider Amazon. Daisuke was lost in the Amazon, orphaned at a young age, and raised by wild animals before being adopted by an Incan tribe. Nearly his entire village was killed by Golgos, but not before a village elder performed a ritual to give him the ability to become Kamen Rider Amazon. Amazon is known for his savage, beastly appearance and fighting style. His suit is reminiscent of a piranha, and in contrast to most other riders, he doesn't act as a typical hero. He's characterized as a berserker who mostly engages in battle driven by instincts and devoid of emotion, frequently perceived as a creature instead of a rider. He has a fierce and uncontrolled demeanor originating from his beginnings in the Amazon rainforests. He's a formidable fighter who frequently depends on raw power and instinct rather than tactics or skill. Daisuke was played by Toru Okazaki, and Amazon became somewhat of a cult classic within the Riderverse, leading to a pseudo-reboot series with Amazons. Due to Toru's strong performance, Amazon's cool suit, and brutal fighting style, he definitely earned a spot on this list. Next at number 43 is Katsumi Daido, better known as Kamen Rider Eternal. Eternal is a formidable and fierce rider from the Kamen Rider Double series, and Katsumi becomes Eternal by utilizing the Lost Driver and Eternal Memory, acquiring tremendous physical power and the capability to make other Gaia memories ineffective with his Eternal Requiem ability. Eternal is known for his catchphrase, "Now enjoy your hell." Eternal features a solid white suit design, complete with yellow eyes and a crown aesthetic that resembles a sideways E on his helmet, along with a cape, making him stand out amongst other riders. Katsumi was played by Mitsuru Matsuoka, who was also the singer for Kamen Rider Drive's banger of a theme song. Eternal was cold, heartless, and brutal, making him extremely memorable within the franchise. Next at number 42 is Taiga Nobori, better known as Kamen Rider Saga. Featured in Kiva, Taiga is the son of King, and he's the heir apparent as king of the Fangires. Taiga was tasked with keeping order among his kind and eliminating threats to the Fangire race. He's leader of the Checkmate 4 and former fiancé to Mio before they would split in dramatic fashion, when she left Taiga for his half-brother Wataru or Kiva. Taiga held immense power compared to other Fangires, and his fighting style was brutal and remorseless. Saga featured a royal white rider suit featuring a crown along with blue and gold accents, before he would eventually take on the Dark Kiva form. Taiga was played by Shoma Yamamoto, who played the role of Tsubasa in the Garo franchise, as well as lending his voice to the Japanese dubs of Dino Force Brave and Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Saga had an excellent story arc that provided stakes and intrigue for the series. Speeding into number 41 is Ryu Terui, or Kamen Rider Axel. Axel's main power is accelerated speed, and he has the ability to change into a motorcycle, which is called bike form. Ryu is frequently serious, and he considers himself a self-reliant person. He usually has a stern look on his face, focused and ready for anything that may come. Ryu is also the superintendent of Futo PD's Paranormal Crime Division, where he hunts dopants. Although he's initially irritated by Akiko, they would eventually get married. With the help of Shroud, Ryu would hone his skills and become faster and faster, and eventually he used his trial form. As far as looks, Axel's base form is red with an original design clearly inspired by a motorcycle, while his trial form is an attractive blue with a lighter armor style. Ryu was played by Minehiro Kinomoto, who originally auditioned for the role of Shotaro and Philip. Axel was an awesome speed-themed rider with a stoic demeanor and interesting abilities. Next on the list is Daiki Kaito, or Kamen Rider The End, an enigmatic character from Decade. He journeys between different rider dimensions, searching for treasures, and summoning other riders to assist him. The End's main objective is to amass treasures, and although he can be heroic at times, he frequently functions as an anti-hero or at times even a villain, depending on the circumstances. The End has a look that's similar to Decade's, but with a blue and black color scheme along with a blockier helmet mold and yellow accents. He's also a very proficient thief, and although he can be relatively laid back and upbeat, while unhinged, taking him lightly in battle would be a mistake due to his powerful abilities revolving around time manipulation. Daiki was played by Kimito Totani, who also appeared in episode 20 of Shinkenger. The End was a cool addition to Decade, and the concept of a time-traveling thief was definitely a cool one. Next up at number 39 is a pair of riders named Akira Date and Shintaro Goto, also known as Kamen Rider Birth and Proto Birth, or Birth X respectively. Date was a combat medic whom Kogami-san tasked with collecting medals as the original Birth. He was laid back and cheerful, always friendly with those around him.
そう、職場同じ感じの伊達です。
He gets injured before leaving Japan to have surgery, and he leaves his powers with Shintaro, the second iteration of Birth. Shintaro was a captain of Kogami Foundation who would serve as Birth in Date's absence, and eventually he teamed up with Date upon his return as Proto Birth. Birth is a high-tech gachapon-themed rider with a crane arm for collecting cell medals, and a breast cannon for blowing away the competition. Both suits featured a black, silver, and green color scheme, with Proto Birth adding red accents. Akira Date was played by Hiroki Iwanaga, who also plays Shu in the modern Space Sheriff Scheider projects. Shintaro is played by Asaya Kimijima, and Birth's unique dual-user concept, along with the capsule toy theme, made Birth one of the most unique secondary riders ever. Next at number 38 is Kamen Rider Horobi, a Humagear that's the leader of MetsubouJinrai.net on 01. Horobi is a father figure type Humagear that builds other Humagears and leads them on his mission. Horobi believes in Humagear dominance and seeks to eradicate humanity to embed Humagears as the world's dominant life forms. He views Jin as his son and initially directs him from the shadows before emerging and unleashing his power upon the world. Horobi is themed around a scorpion, and he uses devastating scorpion-themed attacks against his opponents. He has a dynamic purple suit with black and silver armor and intense yellow eyes. Horobi's name literally means destruction in Japanese, and he was played by Tsuya Tsunagawa, who almost retired from acting due to being discouraged before landing the role of Horobi. Kamen Rider Horobi was intense and heartless, with machine-like precision, plus his suit looked great.
Kamen Rider V3!
Next on the list is Shiro Kazami, better known as Kamen Rider V3. Shiro sees his family get killed by Destron and sets out on avenging them. He risks his life saving Kamen Riders Ichigo and Nigo, and when he's fatally injured, the Double Riders save his life by turning him into a cyborg. Shiro has strong morals and a heroic personality, and although he feels anger towards Destron, he maintains his sense of duty to others and works to protect people. V3 has a similar look to the Double Riders, but this time his suit features a brighter shade of green and more red than before. Shiro was played by Hiroshi Miyauchi, who also played Outranger in Go Ranger, Big One in Jaka, and Chief Counselor Naoyuki Miura in O Ranger. Plus he appeared in multiple seasons of the Metal Hero series. Kamen Rider V3 was an ass-kicking machine with that signature Showa-era style, and that's why he landed right here. Coming in at number 36 is Yua Yaiba, also known as Kamen Rider Valkyrie. Dash! Featured in the story of 01, Yua was a member of AIMS alongside Isamu Fua, and also an employee of Gaia Mats before breaking off, giving her an interesting story arc showing her duty-driven persona, followed by her struggle with personal autonomy and the will to do what's right. She's most known for her rushing cheetah form, notable for its speed and agility, and along with the other temporary forms she uses, rushing cheetah makes her a formidable adversary in battle. Yaiba is a well-rounded and resolute character, capable of staying calm under pressure and maintaining her professionalism. The rushing cheetah suit is white and orange with yellow eyes, and it's one of the most agile-looking rider suits ever, perfectly fitting with her abilities. Yaiba is played by Hiroe Igeta, and Valkyrie is one of the most well-known female riders ever.
Henshin!
Next at number 35 is Ryuga Banjo, a once professional fighter who henshins into Kamen Rider Cross Z, known for his strength and determination. Ryuga was born under unusual circumstances, after he was delivered healthy in only 2 months after having an alien named Ivoruto attached to him, making him a human and alien hybrid. As an adult, he was banned from fighting due to participating in a fixed match, and he would eventually be framed for unaliving someone. He was serving his sentence when he was abducted by Faust for experimentation. Eventually, Ryuga gains the ability to henshin into Cross Z, a secondary rider form themed around a dragon and fire. His expert fighting ability is amplified while henshined, making him a formidable hand-to-hand combatant, and his various other forms gave him even more power to work with. Ryuga was played by Eiji Akaso, who was a huge Rider fan growing up due to watching with his grandfather, and he also played the role of Hiroki in Season 2 of Amazons. The name Cross Z means to intersect or connect, and Cross Z was an excellent secondary rider, landing him a spot right here. Coming in at number 34 is Michinaga Azuma, or Kamen Rider Buffa, a participant in the Desire Grand Prix from Geats. He's known for his buffalo and zombie theme, distant and aloof demeanor, and a tendency to favor raw power while fighting. He can also be extremely impulsive at times, representing his biggest weakness. He's usually a lone wolf, but he does ally himself with others from time to time when it benefits him. He's the personification of the anti-hero role. Buffa's main suit design is purple with orange accents, featuring his signature horns and orange eyes. When using the zombie raise buckle, he gains giant claws capable of dealing serious damage to his opponents. Michinaga was played by Kazuto Mokudai, who studied Kamen Rider Gim in preparation for this role. Buffa's color scheme and helmet mold give him a unique appearance within the Riderverse, and Kazuto's portrayal of the character was excellent. Next at number 33 is Arata Kagami, who becomes Kamen Rider Gatak, featured within the Kabuto series. His name comes from a blend of Kuwagata, which is a Japanese stag beetle, and attack. Formerly an agent of Zect, Kagami was the second user of the Bee, before abandoning the form and eventually gaining the power of Gatak. Although he initially had run-ins with Soji, also known as Kabuto, the two would align and become friends, frequently sharing meals together and working together in battle. Kagami is friendly and somewhat naive at times, but he's also prone to anger where he can make rash decisions based on emotion. Gatak has a slick metallic blue color scheme with striking red eyes, and when he casts off, his beetle horns move into place to complete the look. This is easily one of the cleanest looking secondary riders in history. He uses powerful attacks and clock-up ability to turn the tides of battle. Kagami is played by Yuki Sato, a childhood fan of Kamen Rider Black, and Gatak's cool look combined with a great story arc and powerful attacks lands him a spot on this list. Our number 32 entry is Isamu Fua, also known as Kamen Rider Vulcan. Featured within 01, he worked alongside Yua Yaiba or Kamen Rider Valkyrie within AIMS. Fua has an intense personality and drive, making him a formidable adversary for his opponents. Fua had false memories due to the chip in his brain, including memories of Humagears ruthlessly executing people in his hometown, causing him to harbor intense dislike and distrust towards Humagears. Eventually, he would enter a story arc where he and Yaiba would battle, and he also gained several other forms along the way, before ultimately reaching a sad ending to his story. Vulcan's suit was wolf-themed with a blue and white color scheme and red accents, giving him a really fresh style. He has powerful strikes and attacks, but this pulls a lot of power from his body and causes him immense pain at times. Fua was played by Ryutaro Okada, a fellow YouTuber that's really friendly and cool to his fans. Fua's intensity, combined with Vulcan's unique wolf aesthetic, made this rider memorable. Next at number 31 is a rider duo in Iki Igarashi and his inner demon Vice, better known as Rivai and Vice, or collectively as Kamen Rider Revice. Iki is a member of the Igarashi family, and they run a bathhouse together. He's really close to his family and is usually seen as positive and upbeat. He also tries to be selfless, usually prioritizing the needs of others over his own. Vice is Iki's inner demon who causes mischief with a quirky sense of humor. Eventually he would act more like a protagonist, and he was shown to actually care for Iki. This rider duo looked unique with an emphasis on blue, pink, and purple, as well as eye-catching helmet molds. Iki was played by Kintaro Maeda, a martial artist who grew up as a huge rider fan, and his sister is a popular idol in Japan named Kokoro. Vice is voiced by Subaru Kimura, an industry veteran who was featured in Zyuohger, Q Ranger, Kira Major, and even One Piece. Revice was stylish and unique, with the two characters displaying excellent chemistry together. Next up is Evolto, the main villain of Build, who becomes Kamen Rider Evil. Evolto was an alien from planet Blood, bent on unleashing chaos upon the Earth. Evolto possessed Soichi Isurugi and temporarily used the Bloodstock form, becoming Evil and continuing to evolve. Evolto's main goal was to annihilate the world and construct a new one, convinced that humanity is tainted and his civilization from planet Blood is superior. Evil was insanely powerful, capable of possessing others, reshaping matter within the world, teleportation, and shapeshifting. Evil evolves into other phases that grant him absurd levels of power. His suit design looks great regardless of form, but my favorite would have to be Black Hole form, a black and white form with light magenta highlights, making for a really dynamic look. Soichi was played by Yasuyuki Maekawa, and Evolto was voiced by Tetsuo Kanao, who previously appeared in Kamen Rider Black. Evolto was absolutely ruthless and one of the biggest threats to humanity in the history of Kamen Rider, a truly intimidating villain. Coming in at number 29 is Kazuma Kinzaki, better known as Kamen Rider Blade. He's a bored operative who fights undead to protect humanity. Kazuma is fiercely dedicated to protecting innocent people, with a strong loyalty to those he cares about and an internal drive that lets him persevere through tough situations that looked unwinnable at times. Blade is a devastating close-range fighter due to his signature weapon, the Blade Rouser, which also houses his cards. Blade is themed around a spade as well as a Hercules beetle. His suit features a dark blue undersuit with silver armor and red eyes, complete with a horn on his helmet. He can also activate one of the shiniest and most royal looking forms in the franchise with King form. Kazuma was played by Takeyuki Tsubaki, who also appeared in Go Rider, and this list would have a giant hole in it without Blade and his shiny King form. Next up at number 28 is Sogo Tokiwa, or Kamen Rider Gyo, who's known for being able to access the abilities of previous riders. During his journey, Sogo must defend the chronology against timejackers who want to change the past. Additionally, he struggles with a prophecy that says he will become the evil Oma Gyo. When we meet Sogo, he's shown to have extraordinary ambition, openly telling people that he wants to become a king. He tends to see the good in others, even when it affects him negatively. However, he harbors a dark side deep within, one that could lead him to becoming the evil King Oma Gyo if left unchecked. This creates a pervasive, overarching threat to Sogo within the story, and this was a really interesting story at that. Gio had a unique look, with a black and pink color scheme with what looks to be a watch strap on his chest and the kana for rider on his visor, with watch hands as a finishing touch. As a time-themed rider, Gio has many temporal abilities and the ability to alter reality itself through time manipulation. Sogo was played by So Okuno, and Gio's time theme and sheer power were extremely memorable within the Riderverse.
しゃあ逃がしたかライダーどこ行くんだお久しぶりです隼人
Next at number 27 is Hayato Ichimonji, also known as Kamen Rider Nigo or Kamen Rider 2. As one of the classic double riders, Hayato was a photographer that Shocker turned into a cyborg. He would temporarily replace Kamen Rider Ichigo as the main rider of the original series when Takeshi Hongo's actor was injured performing a stunt. Hayato was suave and stylish, and carried the mantle of Kamen Rider well during Ichigo's absence.
Kamen Rider
Nigo featured two different suit designs, with the original looking a lot like Ichigo's suit, but eventually he donned a new suit with a light green helmet as well as red boots and gloves. Hayato was played by Takeshi Sasaki, and Nigo's legacy as a Kamen Rider is undeniable. Coming in at number 26 is the second rider form used by Kotaro Minami in Kamen Rider Black RX. Following the events of Kamen Rider Black, Kotaro was launched into space by the Crisis Empire and gained new abilities from the sun's radiation, leading him to become Kamen Rider Black RX. At this point, Kotaro was already a well-established character within the franchise, but the RX form added some new abilities and a red car called Rideron. Black RX used a suit that was black and dark green with his crest on the chest, a padded neck, and peering red eyes. Kotaro was played by Tetsuo Kurata, and although RX isn't as popular as its predecessor, it definitely deserves to be recognized here. Number 25 is Keiwa Sakurai, or Kamen Rider Tycoon, a character from Geats that goes through an intense and impactful story arc.
Ready. Fight.
Keiwa starts off the series as a young man trying to get a job, but he finds himself in the Desire Grand Prix. He starts off as a happy-go-lucky character, but through the events of the show, he becomes more cynical, and eventually, when he loses his sister, he becomes enraged and hell-bent on vengeance, employing Tsurumi's help to gain his revenge. Keiwa's initial form is black and light green with a tanuki motif, but his anguish led him to the Bujin sword form. Wielding a katana and donning a cape, this black version of Tycoon is a deadly instrument to be used for Keiwa's pain and anger, resulting in an immensely powerful and brutally effective Kamen Rider. When this form debuted, I thought that he killed Buffa. In my opinion, it is absolutely incredible and one of the best looking rider forms of all time. Keiwa was played by Ryuga Sato, and Keiwa's story showed how easily a noble character can snap given the right circumstances.
どうしたブラックさん生き返って強くなったのはその程度か
Continuing on with our list is Nobuhiko Akizuki, better known as Shadow Moon. Acting as the main villain in the Kamen Rider Black series, Nobuhiko was captured by the sinister Golgum organization, where they turned him into Shadow Moon, where he and Kotaro were both candidates to become the new Creation King. Shadow Moon's presence and aura were the stuff of legend, and he was a force to be reckoned with.
ブラックさんとうとう決着をつける時が来たな戦え
Shadow Moon sports a shiny silver suit, striking green eyes, and distinctive armor. His unique look stands in stark contrast to Kamen Rider Black's style, emphasizing his role as the antagonist of the series. He also uses the Satan Saber, a powerful sword with a red blade. Nobuhiko was played by Takahito Horiuchi, and his battle with Kamen Rider Black was the stuff of legend. Coming in at number 23 is Shinosuke Tomari, a police officer who battles the Roid Mutes by transforming into Kamen Rider Drive.
Drive.
As the first Kamen Rider since Kamen Rider Black RX to use a car rather than a motorcycle, Drive is pretty unique within the franchise. As an officer, Shinosuke was demoted into the Special Investigation Division where he investigates a phenomenon called slowdown. Shinosuke has excellent deduction skills and is committed to duty, as well as protecting others. Despite his focus, he tends to talk smack to his opponents and he's capable of having fun during a fight. As an officer, he's proficient at detective work and an elite marksman. Drive's suit looks like he's wearing a red sports car, complete with a spoiler on the back of his helmet and eyes that resemble headlights. Shinosuke was played by Yoma Takeuchi, an actor that appeared as a side character in Detective Pikachu, and he said previously that the entire reason he became an actor in the first place was because he loved Kamen Rider Double and wanted to play a rider himself. Drive was a really fresh rider, and Shinosuke's character had an excellent balance between a stern professionalism and a lighthearted sense of humor.
祭りの場所はここか。遊んでくれよ。
Next at number 21 is the sadistic and psychopathic Takeshi Asakura, also known as Kamen Rider Oja. Featured in Kamen Rider Ryuki, Takeshi was a sinister character with a dark and twisted personality. He's a formidable and merciless fighter who revels in chaos and suffering, fueled by a desire for destruction and a cruel urge to hurt others. As a teen, he unalived his own parents and set their home on fire, highlighting his violent and unfeeling nature. This made it unsurprising that he proceeded to end the lives of a number of riders within the famous Rider War. Oja means King Snake, and this is represented by his armor and pieces of equipment. He wore a unique and dynamic rider suit with aggressive lines and an eye-catching purple and gold color scheme. Portraying Takeshi was an actor by the name of Takashi Hagino, and Oja's callous nature, along with his psychopathic desire to harm others, is legendary within the Kamen Rider franchise. Coming in at number 21 is Kuroto Dan, or Kamen Rider Gim, the anti-hero CEO of Gim Corp. Featured within X-Aid, Kuroto's corporation is responsible for creating the gashats and drivers to fight against the bugsters. He's self-assured and narcissistic, believing his own hype as a talented and influential game developer and CEO. As Gim, he's loaded with powers and abilities, including some insanely powerful alternate forms. Also known as Black X-Aid, Gim has a similar appearance to X-Aid with the same armor mold, although with a slick black and purple color scheme. Kuroto was played by an actor named Tetsuya Iwanaga, who's a pharmacist during his day job and also a member of Mensa. Gim looked awesome, and Kuroto Dan's superiority complex made him a character that stole the screen whenever he was featured. Next up is Rin Akiyama, better known as Kamen Rider Knight, who a lot of fans have called the Batman of Kamen Rider. Although he's considered a secondary writer, he's such a focus of the story, especially towards the end of the series, that many consider him to be at the same level as Kamen Rider Ryuki, the show's namesake. Rin's fiancée is in a coma, prompting him to enter the Rider War in order to save her. He's a lone wolf who can be cold and overly blunt, creating friction with others on the show. This is later contrasted with scenes that show his caring side. Knight looks like a knight with the added bat aesthetic to give him a really unique look. He uses black and silver armor with the addition of a cape and a slotted visor that's reminiscent of a medieval knight. He can also activate Survive form, giving him heavier armor that's blue and gold. Rin was played by Satoshi Matsuda, who also appeared in Faiz as a crab orphanok. This is ironic since he has a crab allergy. The story of Kamen Rider Ryuki can't be told without Knight, and along with his unique look and intense personality, he carved a memorable place for himself within the history of the franchise. Coming in at number 19 is the famous social media star known as Neon Kurama, who henshins into Kamen Rider Nago, one of the most popular female writers of all time and one of my personal favorites. Neon goes through one of the most impactful story arcs ever. She starts out as a social media star, doing dances for likes and subs before joining the DGP, and eventually finding out that she only exists because of the wish her father made to remake the world after his young daughter named Akari was kidnapped and unalived. Neon's father wanted to replace his daughter, and she was the manifestation of that wish. Doubting her own self-worth and questioning if she even deserved anything in life, Neon was forced to search her soul and find a part of herself that made her truly powerful, thus conquering her own shortcomings as a character and learning to live with herself.
Fight!
Neon had an awesome cat-themed rider suit with her beat form featuring a dynamic blue and pink color palette. Her helmet is sleek and elegant, with a cat design accented by gold trim. Neon is played by Yuna Hoshino, who grew up watching Kamen Rider with her brother, and she has a YouTube channel as well. Nago had an endearing personality with a fun and unique suit design and one of the greatest storylines in the franchise. She definitely deserves to be high on this list. Next at number 18 is Imu Hojo, better known as Kamen Rider Ex-Aid. Imu is a doctor at Seto University Hospital and a hardcore gamer. He fights as Ex-Aid to eradicate the bugsters and their virus that's present in Imu's patients. When he was young, his mother passed away from an illness and his father wasn't around much, leading him to his love for gaming. He was involved in an accident when he was younger, and being at the hospital inspired him to become a doctor. Kamen Rider Ex-Aid levels up like an RPG, and he has many cool and unique forms to give him an advantage in combat. He starts out in a form that's short in stature and looks a lot more like a pop vinyl than a Kamen Rider. However, when he levels up, he looks more like a traditional rider, but he still retains the signature Ex-Aid style. He features pink anime hair molded into his helmet along with large eyes and a pink and green color scheme. Ex-Aid also has his Muteki gamer form, an absurdly powerful golden rider form that makes him nearly unbeatable. Imu is played by Hiroki Lijima, who grew up as a huge fan of Kamen Rider Ryuki. Kamen Rider Ex-Aid was colorful and vibrant, and the game-themed effects associated with his henshin and fighting were a breath of fresh air in the franchise. Coming in at number 17 on our list is Gintaro Kisaragi, an eccentric and charismatic student that henshins into Kamen Rider Foze.
Kamen Rider Foze!
After transferring to Amanagawa High School, Gintaro was determined to be everyone's friend. He joined the school's Kamen Rider Club and subsequently gained his powers. Gintaro was outgoing and friendly with a unique style reminiscent of American high school shows, with a pompadour hairstyle that would have fit perfectly within a show like Happy Days. He's a fairly understanding person when facing the shortcomings of others, but he can get frustrated when battles aren't going his way. Although not everyone takes kindly to him at the school, his personality and various successes sway others to view him favorably. This show also has somewhat of a space theme, and this was reflected in Foze's suit design that was reminiscent of an astronaut suit. It had a white color scheme with accents of orange and a helmet that looked like a rocket. Gintaro was played by Sota Fukushi, whose parents were fans of Kamen Rider, and he auditioned for the role for them. Gintaro was a super likable character that made Foze a great rider on a great show. Next at number 16 is Shoichi Sugami, who becomes Kamen Rider Agito, whose name is Latin for move or keep moving. Shoichi was actually born as Tetsuya Sawaki, and he went through great struggle at a young age, including the death of his brother. After being left for dead, he had amnesia and took on the identity of Shoichi. He lived a normal life but was rage-filled deep down as a result of his experiences. Despite this, his outward personality was upbeat and friendly with a strong desire to protect those in need, and he would use his abilities as Agito to do just that. Agito has precognition and can sense danger before it can harm him or others. He has a black and gold color scheme with vibrant red eyes as well as other forms of course, with my favorite being shining form. Shoichi was played by Toshiki Kashu, and Agito represented a great evolution of what Kuga started the year prior. Shoichi had a tragic story, and Agito's legacy is the stuff of legends. Coming in at number 15 is Takumi Inui, the wolf orphanok that becomes Kamen Rider Faiz. Takumi fought against Smart Brain to prevent them from replacing the world with orphanoks. Takumi was once a human, but died in a fire and was resurrected as the Wolf Orphanok. Through artificial memories, he believes himself to be responsible for the deaths of others, causing him to be standoffish and reserved because he thinks that being close to others will put them in harm's way. Others often thought of him as cold or cynical, but he's actually got a good heart and is capable of being a great friend once he lets his guard down. As Kamen Rider Faiz, Takumi has a ridiculous number of abilities, including speed, strength, and superhuman reflexes. His suit design features a black and red color scheme with yellow eyes. He also has blaster form that makes him primarily red, and Next Faiz, which looked awesome. Takumi was played by singer Kento Handa, and Faiz was an iconic part of early 2000s Kamen Rider.
Turns to a rider kick.
Next at number 14 is Aruto Hiden, a comedian that hinges into Kamen Rider 01. Aruto inherits a company called Hiden Intelligence from his grandfather. This company makes Humagears, which are AI-powered robots resembling humans. These story elements created an interesting story arc for Aruto that would see him grow and mature within the corporate world, as well as facing MetsuboJinrai.net. 01 also has an arsenal of different forms with different styles and unique powers. His base suit design is a bright yellow-green color with red eyes and red accents throughout. This aesthetic was perfect to represent a modern and high-tech Kamen Rider. Aruto was played by Fumiya Takahashi, who also appeared in many Japanese dramas as well as lending his voice for some anime projects. Kamen Rider 01 was a slick and futuristic rider for the AI era, and he was too cool and too powerful to not include here. Coming in at number 13 is Wataru Kurenai, better known as Kamen Rider Kiva. Wataru is a soft-spoken introvert who is a human Fangire hybrid, and this is a big part of the plot, where we would explore Wataru's family history and his place within the hierarchy of the Fangire species. This show introduced some very unique elements to the franchise, like Wataru's ghostly allies called the Arms Monsters, who provide Kiva with power-ups and live in a building that turns into a dragon. Kiva had an aggressive and sinister-looking rider suit with a dynamic black, silver, and red color scheme, plus evil-looking yellow eyes. Kiva also had Emperor form, one of my favorite rider forms of all time. I even have the SH Figuarts figure of Emperor Form Kiva sitting on my desk as I record this. Kiva had many supernatural abilities, such as a form of ESP, the ability to manipulate alternate dimensions, and he's even a highly skilled violinist. Wataru was played by Koji Seto, and Kiva's awesome vampire-themed aesthetic and abilities made him an unforgettable rider within the franchise. At number 12 is Kamen Rider Den-O, whose user is Ryotaro Nogami, but he's possessed by various Imagines whose personalities are reflected by Den-O. These Imagins are varied in both appearance and personality, and they offer a ton of entertainment value to the viewers. As I stated, Dino's appearance changes based on what Imagin is in control at the time, the most common of which is sword form when he's controlled by Momotoros, a hilarious Imagin that has the look of a demon. Ryotaro was played by Takeru Sato, and Dino's hilarious Imagins contrasted perfectly with his personality. Dino also had a great look, and this rider offered so much variation between the different characters that every episode seemed fresh, landing Dino a spot right here.
どっちか俺の腕を変え高い値段をつけた方が俺という太陽は輝く
Next up at number 11 is the suave culinary enthusiast Soji Tendo, who henshins into Kamen Rider Kabuto. Unlike many other writers, Soji starts the series by acting arrogant and somewhat narcissistic, but over time we get to see different sides of his relationship with his sister and Kagami, and he becomes a character that's easier to root for. Kamen Rider Kabuto is an absurdly powerful fighter due to his ability to clock up. He's also extremely clever and skilled at infiltration and gathering information. Add to this his general fighting skill and anticipation of enemy attacks, and it makes him almost unstoppable. As far as Kabuto's look, he has a black undersuit with silver and red armor complete with blue eyes, providing excellent contrast. When he casts off, his beetle horns move into position and he's ready for battle. Soji was played by Hiro Mizushima, and his swagger combined with Kabuto's sheer power made him one of the most memorable riders ever. At number 10 is the OG Kamen Rider himself, Takeshi Hongo, also known as Kamen Rider Ichigo or Kamen Rider 1. Takeshi Hongo was a college student who was turned into a cyborg by Shocker, but they weren't able to convert his mind, so he went rogue and battled against them. During the filming of a stunt, Takeshi's actor got injured, and he was replaced temporarily by Hayato Ichimonji. Eventually, Takeshi returned to the series and teamed up with Hayato to form the Double Riders. Takeshi had a friendly personality, easily endearing himself to others with an upbeat outlook on life. He's also extremely heroic and brave in the face of danger. He's a huge fan of motorcycle racing, and as a Kamen Rider, he used the iconic original rider machine called Cyclone. Ichigo was an ass-kicking machine, utilizing powerful strikes and superhuman reflexes.
仮面ライダー今度は何をしようとするんだショッカーの怪物め
Ichigo's suit design has become absolutely iconic over the years and is now synonymous with Toku itself. He wears a black and green suit with his signature red scarf. Takeshi was played by Hiroshi Fujioka, a Toku legend that also appeared in Project G4, Tomika Heroes, and numerous return appearances as Takeshi Hongo over the years. Kamen Rider Ichigo set the standard for future riders in the franchise and started things off in an awesome and memorable way. Our number 9 entry is Kota Kazuraba, a dancer who becomes Kamen Rider Gaim. As a member of the dance troupe Gaim, Kota obtains a belt allowing him to henshin into a Kamen Rider with help from the Orange Lock Seed. Kota started out the series with an upbeat personality, but over the course of time he would become more serious due to circumstances surrounding him. He searched for answers to Yggdrasil's mysteries, and this would set him on a path of self-revelation that would lead him to eventually attaining godlike powers, easily making him one of the most powerful riders of all time. His powers include manipulation of reality and time, as well as telepathy and near invincibility. His base form looks like a black, silver, and orange samurai with slight yellow accents. His helmet design is one of my favorites because it's based off of the helm of Masamune, one of the greatest samurai in history. Kota was played by Gaku Sano, who grew up as a huge Kuga fan, and due to Kamen Rider Gaim's samurai theme and godlike power, it's no surprise that he made it this high on the list. Next on the list is none other than the destroyer of worlds himself, Tsukasa Kodoya, better known as Kamen Rider Decade. Decade exists amongst the larger Riderverse, where he travels to the universe of other Heisei-era riders as they converge into one. He's able to henshin into the other riders from the Heisei era, making him insanely powerful and probably the most versatile rider of all time. At least he was when this series launched. To say that Decade had a unique suit design would be a huge understatement, with a black, white, and magenta color scheme, green eyes, and a helmet mold unlike any other. He also used rider cards to form switch into other riders and turn the tide of battle. Tsukasa was played by Masahiro Inoue, a masterful Toku actor who also appeared in the Garo franchise as Jinga. Kamen Rider Decade is an insanely popular rider with insanely high levels of power, landing him a spot right here. Coming in at number 7 is a genius of a rider in Sento Kiryu, or Kamen Rider Build. Enlisted by the Toto government, Sento fought against Faust while flexing his brain power and using his intelligence to solve all sorts of problems within the series. He was an amnesiac who was given his belt in full bottles, but he used his intellect to iterate on these designs and formulas to come up with some truly unique combinations of powers. Build's base form is called Rabbit Tank, and it features a really dynamic blue and red color scheme, with both a rabbit and a tank being reflected in the design of the eyes. His henshin is also incredibly unique as he shakes up his full bottles and cranks his belt before both sides of his suit appear in front and behind him before closing in and slamming his suit onto his body. He had a wide variety of forms, including the powerful Genius form. Sento was a friendly and upbeat character with a childlike positivity about life, but he was brave and willing to risk his own life for the safety of those he cares about. He was played by Atsuhiro Inukai, a Kabuto fan who has his own YouTube channel, and Build proved that brain is sometimes better than brawn, holding it down for nerds everywhere. Coming in at number 6 is Kotaro Minami, making his second appearance on this list as the legendary Kamen Rider Black. Kotaro was kidnapped along with his brother Nobuhiko, where he would be turned into Black as a candidate to become the Creation King. Black escaped and still maintained his autonomy, whereas Nobuhiko was turned into Shadow Moon. Kotaro went through agony and torment at the idea of his brother being corrupted, and this pain added a high level of intensity to the series. Every time Kotaro interacts with Gorgum, you can feel his rage boiling up. Black had a black suit design with red and yellow striping, red eyes, and exposed wiring to give him a utilitarian look. He was a brutal hand-to-hand fighter with hard-hitting fight scenes, including impacts that fans could feel. He also had one of the most iconic henshins of all time. Kotaro was played by Tetsuo Kurata, who brought an irreplaceable intensity to the role. Kamen Rider Black is still considered one of the greatest Toku shows of all time, and Minami Kotaro was a big reason why. Coming in at number 5 is Shinji Kido, better known as Kamen Rider Ryuki. Shinji was a journalist in the making when he forged an alliance with a dragon and became Kamen Rider Ryuki. He joined the Rider War to have his wish granted of destroying the mirror monsters and freeing the world from the chaos and suffering that this war brings upon humanity. Shinji has a strong moral code, and he can be hot-headed at times, angering quickly when he gets frustrated. Despite this, he's an idealist at heart with a sense of responsibility and justice, and he won't be swayed from fighting for the world he desires.
お前はいつか俺と戦うと言ったな。本気なら今すぐ戦う。
Kamen Rider Ryuki has one of the nicest rider suits in history with a vibrant red undersuit and black and silver armor plating. His helmet mold is unique and elegant with a slotted visor giving the look of a knight. Ryuki is accompanied by a red dragon, and this is fitting since Ryuki means dragon knight in Japanese. Shinji was played by Takamasa Suga, and Kamen Rider Ryuki has gone on to become extremely popular within the community. Now we're getting closer to the top of our list. Number 4 is Ace Yukio, or Kamen Rider Geats, the personification of coolness within the franchise. When we're first introduced to Ace, he walks with an unmatched confidence, with random people in public admiring him and showering him with adoration. Ace is a participant within the Desire Grand Prix where he henshins into Geats. We learn that he's actually the reincarnation of a man named Ace who won the tournament many times before, shaping the world into what he views as ideal. As Geats, he embodies the theme of a kitsune, or fox, and just like a fox, Ace is clever and just crazy enough to think of ways to win that most others would never dream of. This dude is just a winner. Geats' base suit design is white with reddish-orange accents, featuring a helmet mold based on a traditional Japanese kitsune mask. He also features a scarf to pay homage to some of the classic riders from the past. Geats has a number of abilities that change with his chosen raise buckle, but when he attains the power of Geats 9, he becomes a godlike deity, capable of manipulating reality at will and doing basically anything he wants. Not to mention, the Geats 9 suit design is sleek and modern, the definition of aura.
Fight!
Ace was played by Hideyoshi Khan, a fan of Deno, and he provided a great performance for a great season. Ace's coolness, combined with the unique fox aesthetic of Geats and his godlike power, make him a rider that will surely go down in history as one of the greats. Next at number 3 is Yusuke Godai, better known as Kamen Rider Kuga. After being off TV for 11 years, Kamen Rider returned with Kuga, starting off the Heisei era. Yusuke finds an ancient artifact that allows him to become Kuga to battle the Gyorongi. He goes through multiple evolutions, starting out with white armor and short horns before gaining more power and evolving into the black, red, and gold rider that's become absolutely iconic over the years. Yusuke is an optimistic person who usually tries to maintain a smile even through tough situations. He's heavily invested in self-improvement, acquiring many skills over the years, and he's also incredibly brave in the face of danger, willing to stand in harm's way to protect others. Kuga featured several different forms with different color palettes, with the most common being his standard red form. But he also has an incredible looking black and gold form called Ultimate Form, the form I previously ranked as the #1 final form in history. Yusuke was played by Joe Adagiri, and Kuga has become absolutely legendary over the years, making his inclusion on this list an absolute no-brainer. Next up at number 2 is the underwear-loving hobo named Eiji Hino, better known as Kamen Rider Oz. Eiji was a nomad with a tragic past. He was volunteering in Africa for humanitarian reasons when a civil war broke out and a young girl he befriended ended up dying. After his home is destroyed, he encounters Ankh, the arm of greed. Ankh gives Eiji medals and a belt to Henshin after Eiji defends him. Eiji was one of the most endearing riders of all time, completely selfless in the face of danger and always willing to laugh with friends and make new ones. He also tends to give his friend gifts of underwear, cause that's just how Eiji rolls. He's haunted by the memory of the war in Africa, and he vows to never let anyone die again. Oz himself uses 3 different metals to Henshin, and these can be different types or of the same variety for a massive amount of combinations and powers. His base suit is yellow, green, and red, but if he Henshins with 3 metals of the same color, he can utilize unique abilities exclusive to these forms. Eiji was played by Shu Watanabe, who dreamed about playing a Kamen Rider when he was young, and this is the biggest reason that he got into acting. Eiji was one of the most likable writers ever, and his performance could put a smile on anyone's face due to his sheer charisma and comedic timing. Kamen Rider O's looked awesome, and his staggering amount of combinations always kept the show interesting. No list of great Kamen Riders would be complete without Eiji. And now, coming in at number 1 is one of the most popular riders of all time, Kamen Rider Double. Kamen Rider Double featured 2 people sharing the same rider body, Shotaro and Philip, hence the name Double. Kamen Rider Double used Gaia memory sticks to swap left and right side forms that also provide him with different color combinations. Shotaro is what I've often called a detective's detective. He refers to himself as hard-boiled, although he gets called half-boiled a lot through the show, something that usually makes him angry. Just like his mentor, Shotaro is one stylish detective, and his surname Hidari means left, as he becomes the left side of Double's body. He struggles to live up to the legacy of his dead mentor, whose daughter Akiko becomes his landlady. We also have Philip, who henshins into the right side of Double's body. He searches for helpful information and does a lot of research involving keywords in order to solve cases. He's not what he seems at first glance, and his story has an excellent twist involving the Sonozaki family. Kamen Rider Double featured some excellent lead protagonists that are quite different from each other, but equally endearing as characters. Double had a great looking rider suit, with his base form featuring one side that's green and gold, and the other side featuring black with purple. He also had what looks to be layered armor plating and a signature W on his helmet. He also brought back the signature Kamen Rider scarf for the first time in a while. Shotaro was played by Rin Kiriyama, and Philip was played by Masaki Suda, 2 actors who have become absolutely iconic within Toku over the years. Kamen Rider Double ticked every box. He looked great, had 2 charming and likable users, a great catchphrase, and his aura was absolutely off the charts. Not to mention, you guys voted him here. So there you have it, the number 1 greatest Kamen Rider of all time, Kamen Rider Double. And with so many riders, we had to leave out a few good ones, but I want to know what you think. Let me know who you would add to the list and also who you would take off. I want to give a big thanks to everybody that helped me out by voting in the community posts. You guys kick ass, and there's no way I could have done this without you. If you're new here, be sure to henshin into a subscriber by hitting that subscribe button. And check the description for a link to join my Discord server so you can chat with me and other cool Toku fans. As always, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a ton to me if you smack the shit out of that like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.